Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stay Tuned Sports Xfinity Series for tonight's broadcast of the Baldhead Island Vacations.com 150 here from Rockingham Speedway. I'm Peter Short. Alongside me for playoff race number 1 is Andre Granbush. Andre, this racetrack just over a mile in length, hasn't been on the NASCAR calendar for many years, but it always puts on a good show here on 3 Wide TV.
That it does. Puts on a good show in real life and in sim, so should be a fun way to start the round of 8. Everybody reset to 2,000 points in the playoffs, so level playing field for all of our contenders. And right now, some of these drivers getting some practice laps in before the beginning of the race. Fastest on the board so far, Chris Pendle in the 94 machine, 24.26 his lap time, although, yeah, no, that sounds about right, 24.2. For some reason, I was thinking Rockingham was a little bit quicker. He goes a 47 into that outside wall, and that may happen a time or two in this race, Peter, because turn 4, at least for me, not an easy section of the track.
Yeah, this racetrack, you kind of have to race it uniquely. It's changed throughout the years here in iRacing. I see a lot of drivers often run a little bit higher up the racetrack, like we see TJ Lane running right here, although he is up into the outside wall right there, one of our playoff drivers. Let's kind of set the playoff stage for everyone before we go any further here in tonight's Baldhead Island Vacations.com 150. Those playoff drivers, TJ Lane is one of those. Garrett Gleason also making his way into the playoffs. Last week it was kind of a nail-biter, at least at the drop of the green flag for Gleason, but he was able to squeak his way in. Fred Lester also is one of our playoff drivers. Goes by Tom Lester, rather. Then also Brent McKee, Thad Miller, Adam Newton, Christopher Pendle, who's currently fastest of all, and Mike Floppy Tellier bringing the number 47 Hello Kitty machine back into the mix. So if you're looking at the scoring pylon, Steven Lashinsky, the number 9 machine, is not one of our playoff drivers. Same thing with Jason Shue right behind him. I think Jason's actually got real track time here on this particular racetrack with his stock car that he owns. But Jason right now running the number 3 around this joint, currently sitting down in 12th. Also in the field, not making the playoffs is Philip Scott, the number 99. He just didn't start a whole lot of races this season, but nonetheless, William Ratcliffe also was the first driver to miss out, Andre, after what was at least hopeful race last weekend at the Chicagoland Speedway. We kind of expected, that race to be a little bit cleaner, but we had some big accidents that took out some of the drivers trying to race their way into the playoffs, and one of those was the number 95 of Ratcliffe. He's looking for a little bit of a bounce back here tonight. Right at the end of practice, Philip Scott able to jump up to second on the board, but still 0.04 slower than Pendle in the number 94, and I think that number 99 is going to be one who's going to be difficult to beat here tonight. He was fast in the Total Nonstop Racing League event a couple of weeks back, and that I was a part of. So keep your eyes on Philip Scott here tonight as he comes around to complete this practice session. Andre, a lot on the line here tonight.
Yeah, these drivers want to get the round of 8 off to a good start, so they're going to be looking to have a good run tonight, and I think a lot of that's going to be where you qualify. This is a tough track, but if you can start out front, not have to worry about navigating any traffic, that makes it a little bit easier. So speaking of qualifying, that is where we are headed right now as the clock rolls over into qualifying. And is this open qualifying, Peter?
Well, that would be interesting, but based on what I'm seeing, open qualifying. That is for sure, as William Ratcliffe is the first one out there onto the race circuit. Steven Lashinsky in the number 9, just now rolling up there onto the racetrack. Let's see if we can go on board with the Monster Jam machine. You have to be very patient on the gas on the flat portion of the track. This racetrack is an old surface, doesn't have a whole lot of grip, so you just have to be really careful. Very bumpy racetrack here too, Andre. Let's look at Lashinsky here going over all those bumps in turn number 3 and 4, going up the racetrack just a little bit. Even on the straightaways, it's bumpy. Now dropping down to that yellow line, trying to hug it as best he can. The exit of turn number 2, difficult. It straightens up very quickly, so you almost have to back up turn number 1 and 2 to get that drive up off the corner as he slides a little bit into turn number 3 and 4. Usually you're a little bit sideways through 3 and 4 as you get the power down, and that is what Lashinsky's fighting with here as he completes his first qualifying lap.
Yeah, this track surface obviously was scanned, I believe, after it had been really out of commission. Racing had left this circuit, and they hadn't really repaved it in quite some time, so all of the bumps that were there are going to be in sim, and you can see these cars just getting jostled around. And it's not just one place on the track, it's everywhere. It's the straightaways, it's the turns, it's the trioval. Even pit road is a little bit bumpy, so these guys are going to have their hands full. It's one of those times that you're glad that, most of these guys probably aren't running a full motion rig. I feel sympathy for anybody who might be. But, the surface of Rockingham may soon change. I know they just got some money allotted to them from the state, which is going to go into a potential restoration of the facility, and who knows, maybe a NASCAR return.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Here is Thad Miller, currently 4th on the board. He just dropped down to 4th as Philip Scott just pipped him to the provisional front row here in the HarpoonDesign.com qualifying session. Open qualifying here tonight. Haven't seen that, I think, since the road course back at Monza earlier this year. Robert Richards just jumped up into 3rd. Good qualifying run for the number 12 right here on your screen. One of the late joiners, actually. One of the drivers in tonight's field that is not one of our chase drivers is the number 12 of Richards. Only made a handful of starts, just 3 starts. He'll make number 4 here tonight on the season. Of course, tonight being race number 9 of the season. Only 3 races left after tonight, Andre. We got the 2 final races in kind of the round of 8, and then we move over into the championship round at Homestead, Miami, 3 weeks from now.
Yep, that'll be a fun race. Looking forward to it. Homestead is a phenomenal circuit. Always puts on a great show, and hopefully one of these days it gains its title back. But oh boy, some trouble in open qualifying. 51 machine of Thad Miller and 2 other cars collected on the back straightaway, and they're going to have to take a tow as the rest of the cars try to get through there clean and green. Still top of the board currently. Chris Pendle is going to be 24.27. Adam Newton just about half a tenth off, give or take, in 2nd place. Philip Scott just a little over a tenth in 3rd. They got Richards, Lester, Miller, Elaine, Lashinsky, Ratcliffe, and McKee. So a few drivers that have yet to post a time, and they are running out of time. They may be kind of opting to start towards the back. But one of those drivers, of course, the number 7, who we talked about him just barely making it into the playoffs. He's seeming to be making a conscious choice here, Peter. He wants to start towards the back.
Yeah, he might be expecting some accidents. This racetrack, we've talked about its track surface quite a bit. It is very slippery, pretty easy to make a mistake. We saw that there just a minute ago when TJ Elaine got collected in the qualifying accident. But the 47 here of Mike Tellier, not sure if he's out of qualifying laps or whether this will be his first qualifying lap to put in a time. The playoff driver jumps to 6th on the board, so that was his first lap. Doesn't look like he will get a second lap in the Hello Kitty Toyota, but that will put him on the outside of row number 3. But for Philip Scott, jumping up to the board late, looks like he, at least if no one comes across the line in the last second, it will be Philip Scott picking up tonight's Harpoon Designs Pole Award. So congratulations, Philip. Going to be a force to be reckoned with here tonight. When he starts up front, he is a tough one to beat. Let's see if we move over here momentarily into race mode. As there you see last week's race winner, Tom Lester. Great race last week at Chicagoland Speedway. Was able to run down Christopher Pendle late in the show, take the lead in the final 15 or so laps, and did not look back. And of course, into the playoffs with his first win of the season. Checkered flag is out on qualifying. We jump over into the race session. Look, a couple of fans just magically popped up there on the back stretch. And as the cars magically pop up here on the front stretch, we bring up tonight's starting lineup here. Andre, why don't you take it away for the BaldheadIslandVacations.com 150.
And it is going to be the 99, Philip Scott on pole, 24.258. Chris Pendle just missing out with a lap time about a tenth of a second off, starting second place. Adam Newton is going to be in third place, and Mike Tellier to his outside. Row 3 is going to be comprised of Robert Richards in the number 12 and Tom Lester in the 48. 7 and 8 going to TJ Elaine and Thad Miller. Rounding out the top 10, Stephen Lashinsky, and oh boy, it scrolled a little bit early, William Ratcliffe, who again just missed out on the playoffs, P10.
And then rounding out our 14-car field here tonight. In 11th, Brent McKee, Jason Shu alongside, rounding out row number 6. And then Garrett Gleason, our playoff driver, starting 13th. And Jimbo Casterline rounding out our field tonight. So for Gleason, he is the playoff driver starting the furthest back in the field. How will his night go in the Happy Cappy Motorsports machine? Got Coleman's Care on the hood. But up at the front, we will see the iRacing pace car get rolling here momentarily. And there it goes. We are starting to roll. We'll get the green flag next time by. Get a look at the front stretch. It's not really a front straight. It's the front stretch. However, it's got that big kink right there. Start-finish line just before the apex of the kink. It's a unique racetrack, this one. But definitely has put on some very memorable races in the past. I remember Carl Long doing a rollover on the back stretch, I think in NASCAR's penultimate race here back in, I think, 2004, if memory serves me correctly. But this is definitely one of those tracks that has a little bit of unique old-time flair to it that we'll see on display here tonight. Pace car working its way through turn number 3 and 4. Andre, 150 laps, 150 miles around this place here tonight. Going to be a lot of fun for everyone at home.
That it will, and these drivers are going to be giving it all they got, getting this round of 8 off to a fiery start. Pace car pulls in. Philip Scott is going to take the green flag from Barney, and there we have it, 150 laps underway. And they're going to be nose-to-nose going into turn 1. Let's see which lane can get an advantage. Such a tough track to run too wide with the bumps, throwing these cars all over the place. And it looks like Pendle in the 94 gets a really good run on the high side. He's going to get half a car length advantage over Philip Scott down into 3 and 4. Can he finish the maneuver? I don't know. 99 holding strong down on that yellow line, but it may not be enough. Clear into the lead. Lap 1, Chris Pendle in the 94. Philip Scott conceding that first position. Adam Newton won so many races at the beginning of the season. It's been a while since he's been back on top of that podium. He's running third place. Now we go on board with the number 51, TJ Elaine, as he runs just behind Tom Lester. You can see this gaggle of cars, everybody choosing a slightly different lane. They got different ideas how they want to run this track. But man, these onboard cams really do the track surface justice. You can see just how much they are getting thrown around, and you can feel every bit of that in the steering wheel and in the handling of the car. This simulator is realistic enough that that will affect big time. A little bit of an internet blink out from the number 9, Stephen Lashinsky. Keep an eye on that, but we do get single file. It only took about 3 laps, but these guys finally got themselves sorted out. And oh, look at this, 47 of Tellier actually making a move on Newton up into 3rd. He may be the fastest car on the track. He is flying right now.
Yeah, started in 4th, now running in 3rd, so a good start for that Toyota Supra. Things pretty much getting single file all the way back to the number 7 of Garrett Gleason, running behind Brent McKee, looking now to the high side on the number 29 machine, not able to make that pass. Meanwhile, up towards the front, looks like TJ Elaine starting to, or continuing that move upwards through the field. So the Stay Tuned Sports number 51 machine making some good inroads here in the early going. Andre, one thing that we need to mention, of course, one stage caution coming out at the end of lap number 35 here tonight. So we got to keep that in the back of our minds as the number 51 does complete that pass, gets himself up into the top 5. He's gained 2 spots since the drop of the green. Garrett Gleason also gaining 2 spots since the drop of the green. So those 2 drivers currently our biggest movers of the race, but Elaine once more, he's going to try and close in on the back of the number 4 Ford of Adam Newton in front of him. Because like you said, Andre, Adam has just kind of fallen off just a little bit over the last couple of races. It's the wrong time of the year to kind of get cold, if you will. because Christopher Bendel, after that run last week at Chicagoland where he almost got the win, he's got a lot of momentum, and he's our race leader as Tellier is starting to look for second here underneath Phillip.
Yeah, he is trying to make a move down on the low side. It's going to be difficult through 1 and 2. That is the tighter of the set of corners. And those bumps not helping him out of the 99, doing a little bit of wall riding up there, trying to hold that top lane. It's going to be side by side down the back straightaway. Looks like the 47 was able to hold pretty good momentum out of the corner. Now he's going to have an easier time down on the bottom in 3 and 4. It's a more sweeping corner. You don't have to pinch the car as much. And that is going to be a pass complete. Just took him about a lap to get around that 99. And now he's got one more car to hunt down in the windshield. Chris Pendle in the 94. He's about half a second up the road. Here's the 51 again, TJ Elaine. He's been making some moves, making a few passes. Just got around Richards not long ago. Let's take a look at a 3-wide TV replay and dial up a bit of a look back at what just transpired. This is on the gyro cam for TJ Elaine. Looks like he was right behind the number 4 of Adam Newton. And was there an issue?
It just didn't look right. It looked like the car was sliding up the racetrack. I didn't really see anything, that was too crazy. Let's see if we can get one more. Let's see if we can just go back a little bit, Mr. Producer. There we go. I think he got a little bit sideways, but he kept that wheel steady. Watch this. Gets off into the corners and definitely was sideways. Had to run it up the racetrack to catch it. So starting to see maybe some of these tires start to wear on some of these cars. Elaine was up 2 spots. Now he's lost one of those spots. I think back he's slid to 6th. I think Robert Richards was able to get on by. Now Tom Lester and Steven Lashinsky starting to line up behind him. So we'll see how that all works out. Of course, about 23 laps from now, we will see our stage caution come out. Christopher Bendel, who just now tuning in, has led every lap so far here tonight. Just checking out the 3-wide TV chat. We got Adam Dama, who had a great run last week at Chicagoland, in the chat saying he thinks his Wi-Fi card is going bad. He was not able to connect here tonight. That's a tough break, Adam. It would have been great to see you out there on the racetrack following up probably the strongest run we have seen out of Adam Dama here on 3-wide TV in a long time last week. They're trying to keep that momentum going, but unable to do so tonight. And of course, Jimbo said he did not mean to have open qualifying. Says that he's fired. Well, Jimbo, I don't think you should fire yourself. Let's just be honest. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here on 3-wide TV tonight. So we appreciate all that you do for the National Sim Racing Association. But unfortunately for Jimbo, he's keeping all the fenders on it, but he's currently running in 14th, a few seconds behind Will Ratcliffe in the number 95, who's running behind Garrett Gleason. Gleason right in front of Jason Shue, but Shue's starting to run down the number 7's Comans Care Machine. Looks like Gleason has been losing ground on Brent McKee in front of him. Maybe saving tires, maybe just not quite able to keep pace with the number 29 Red Bull machine, because you know what they say about Red Bull, Andre? It gives you wings.
Well, that it does, and he's been making some moves tonight, so definitely picking up a little bit of pace and see what he can do here at Rockingham, see if he can continue that momentum. But going back to the open qualifying thing, in defense of Jimbo, NASCAR in real life has been known to change qualifying procedure from track to track, race to race. They don't really seem to be very consistent with it these days. So honestly, it may have been unintentional, but making things a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, you just never know, do you? And keeping us on our toes up here in the 3-wide TV booth as well, as we're coming around to complete lap number 17 this time. Clean and green so far. I have to say, I think I'm a little bit surprised it has been clean and green so far. We had, of course, quite a few cautions last week at Chicagoland. More cautions than I was expecting for the mile-and-a-half racetrack. These NSRA drivers usually keeping it nice and clean, but definitely the setup was a little wonky last week. I think I heard a lot of drivers complain about how loose it got, but I think that led to some of those accidents for sure last week. It seems like so far this setup seems a lot more stable than I was expecting it to be, as we got this battle going on Garrett Gleason was able to run down Brent McKee now side by side. This would be for 10th. Almost contact. Holy smokes. The number 7 run up the racetrack. McKee really struggling. There's contact. There's contact. And the 29 machine is blown up. That number 29 is smoking. Comes up right in front of Garrett Gleason in the number 7 Comans Care, our playoff driver. But for Brent McKee, smoke billowing out of the number 29 Red Bull machine. That is a tough break for McKee. No caution.
Yeah, no caution. He got down to the apron. I'm surprised one didn't transpire when they were up against the outside wall, but we'll take a look at the 3-wide TV replay. Take a closer look at what happened. Now, this was a multi-layered accident. A little bit of contact there, I think, but there wasn't contact. It was very close. And then coming out of the corner, he gets tight again, arcs it out, and just catches that number 7, hooks himself, and into the wall he goes. That's going to be enough engine damage to blow the motor. Not sure if he was able to get down to pit road, but the number 7 obviously taking some damage and time lost as well from that. And yeah, it was just a little bit of over-aggression on the 29's part. He tried to take the bottom lane, and you can pass on the bottom, but it's so tough. Because once that car starts getting tight, there's really not a lot you can do. I don't think he meant to, slide up into the number 7. It's just one of those things that once the car starts going, you can let off the throttle, you can crank the wheel, you can do whatever you want, but it's on a one-way track to the outside wall, and that's why you got to kind of think about your move before you make it. And now his playoff hopes are looking to be in a very tough situation as a result of that miscalculation. Got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, Peter, and very early on, that kind of mistake is going to be costly.
Yeah, McKee, of course, raced or won his way into the playoffs with the win at Monza on the road course earlier this season. So McKee and Gleason, 2 playoff drivers being involved in that accident. Gleason just losing a spot again to Will Ratcliffe as well. So not sure if that Comans Care Chevy is all too badly damaged. At least from here it looks pretty clean, surprisingly. You can see definitely some left front damage, but the right side looks clean. Hopefully, for Gleason's sake, he can come down onto pit road and get that fixed. Don't think you can say the same for Brent McKee as he continues to sit in his pit box. Meanwhile, Christopher Pendle out there on the racetrack, he is keeping it nice and clean up to a 1.5 second lead. That was actually up to 2 second lead just a moment ago, but Philip Scott has been able to claw back about a half second. Meanwhile, look who's starting to knock on the door for second. That is the number 4 of Adam Newton. He, of course, like you mentioned earlier in the show, has won 4 times this season, but once he hit his car number of wins, he has seemed to mellow out just a little bit, trying to get back in the win column to pick up win number 5 at Rockingham. That would be a sweet way to kick off the playoffs. But right now the PPG Ford solidly in 3rd before a big jump back to 4th and 5th behind him.
Yeah, big separation from the top 3 back to 4th place. Richards in the number 12. It's been a quiet night for Richards, but he's made a lot of passes. He passed Tellier, he passed Lane, he passed I believe Lester at one point. So he's definitely having a good, consistent night, and that may be what it takes to see on the bottom of the track. That is going to be Jimbo going 1 lap down, and a bit of an overreaction there. Got some of the lead lap cars into the wall. He gave him plenty of room there. What he needed to do. That did cost Tellier a little bit of time getting into that wall. Or maybe it was 51 behind him. Couldn't quite tell. But either way, these drivers struggling with the handling a little bit. We're getting into lap 30 now almost. Tires are going to be cooked. Peter, when you're bouncing around like this, when you're sliding around, your tires aren't having it. Not on iRacing. So I would imagine they're having a whole heap of fun behind the wheel, and they are looking forward to that stage caution here in the very short amount of time, 5 laps once they cross the stripe. And this side-by-side right here, the 51 and the 47, this is for position. Elaine and Richards, or Elaine and Tellier. Look at this send. Getting a little bit sideways, yawing it into the corner there, Peter. Is it going to work?
I don't...
And it did.
Ooh,
no, oh boy.
I was going to say, Elaine pulled it off, but I was concerned about Lester and the 47 behind him. because I don't know, that kind of reminded me of that accident we just saw a little while ago between the number 7 and the number 29, but looks like Lester able to make the pass this time. Elaine up the road. Now Tellier sliding back. Just wonder if he overcooked those tires too soon and now is starting to pay for it as we are 4 laps away from our stage caution. We will be giving out stage points here tonight, so Christopher Pendle in the right spot in that number 94 to pick up maximum stage points, although Philip Scott starting to really close that in as Lashinsky and Tellier get close. Move Tellier now back to 8. He's in the I believe the last spot where we hand out those bonus points at the stage. So Tellier has to hold on to that spot if he wants to get anything in stage number 1. Meanwhile, jumping back up to the front, it's hovering right about 0.8 of a second. Bendel to Philip Scott. Don't think Scott's going to erase that in just over 2 laps. I think it's a bit too much, but he definitely has the pace here late in the run versus Bendel. The big question is going to be, Andre, you have 3 sets of tires. Do you take tires on lap number 35, or do you want to save a set for maybe later in the race?
Well, you know, with the strict tire set, I'm going to have to say that I'm going to save them because we're not getting a lot of cautions early on, but we're also not getting that much attrition. So there is a definite possibility of a late race caution if something goes awry. Anytime these cars are this rough on the handling, it doesn't really matter that it's kind of a little bit of separation throughout the field, that they're not racing super aggressively or super hard. Because in these conditions, all it takes is one little misstep, one missed input going into the corner, a little bit too much throttle one way or the other, and you got a car spinning out, and that one car spin could theoretically be a caution. So it's always a possibility, and I would rather have the tires on hand should that happen, especially at a track like this where your lap times are just plummeting. They are so terrible on the old tires compared to fresh. So that's just me personally, but there's the stage caution. Chris Pendle is going to take the stage win. Philip Scott, Adam Newton, Richards, Elaine, Lester, Lashinsky, Tellier, Miller, and Shu getting points. But again, Shu, Scott, and I believe is Richards in the playoffs?
No, Richards is not.
Okay, so those 3 drivers not in the playoffs, but everybody else getting valuable points that will lead them forward into the final round.
Yeah, you want to get every little point that you can because, yeah, you only got 3 races to race your way into Homestead, Miami in just 3 weeks' time from tonight. Let's see who all will make the hard left turn on to pit lane. Looks like Pendle, Scott, the number 4 of Adam Newton, as it looks like Will Ratcliffe there will be our lucky dog under this caution flag number 1 in the Bald Head Island Vacations.com 150. You want to give them a big shout out. Really cool place to check out if you're there. I think it's in, if I remember correctly, right there on the east coast of South Carolina. I get the Carolinas mixed up all the time, but beautiful place from the pictures. I went there. They got really cool old lighthouse and places to stay, things to do. In fact, it's kind of a one-stop shop. You go to baldheadislandvacations.com and they tell you what's going on. They tell you where places to stay. They give you a little bit of the lore of the area. It's a pretty cool website, so make sure you check out baldheadislandvacations.com as Pendle wins the race off pit road. Philip Scott, and it looks like Adam Newton coming off next. Looks like Will Ratcliffe whipping his way around with that lucky dog. We expect to see him on pit road here this time by.
Yes, we do. And while he is getting caught up to the pace car and we have a moment, I'm going to pull Chris Pendle into the booth, our stage winner. Let's have a word with him real quick. Mr. Pendle, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, Chris, you're having a really good run out there. The cars look like a handful. You're bouncing around, sliding around, but you're doing it fast, and that's what matters.
Yeah. This is been pretty fun so far. Only 38 laps, 39 laps into the race. It's been fun. Cars are getting really tight on the long run here. She's just, like I said, she's a handful to drive right now. We got 64 laps fuel runs here, so got to do now is take care of the car, take care of the tires, and let the racetrack come to you.
Definitely seems like the strategy maybe just be a little bit patient here. But I got to ask, because we're watching the field and some drivers are up high, some drivers are down low. Where do you feel comfortable and why?
Hold on one sec.
Yes, sir.
I want to take a top here. I feel comfortable on the top just because that's where you make speed. It's so hard to make passes on the bottom here, especially off turn 2. It's easy to, as soon as you get off 2, it's easy to smack that wall. I feel comfortable on top. I can probably run the bottom on some old tires after tires get some heat in them and grip, but tops to me is definitely where you want to be. It's been the fast way so far. I tried taking care of the tires a little bit on that run. Phil was able to save some there and catch me. So I'm just going to have to do a little bit more saving this time, and hopefully it works out for me.
All right, sir. Lights are going off on the pace car, so we wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
I hope so too. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, Chris Pendle out of the booth, and he said the car was wearing tight, Peter, and that does not surprise me. This track on worn tires, it gets so difficult to get that corner exit. The car just wants to push like a pig, and there's so little that you can do about it. Conservation is paramount, just like he was saying. Thing is, it's tough, man. How do you conserve when you go through the corner, you think you're holding a good line, and then you hit a massive bump, you get airborne, now you're sliding through the corner. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, that's exactly what we saw with McKee and Gleason when McKee kind of pushed up into him. I think that's probably the indication that these cars are actually kind of tightening up over the run as the Goodyear tires scrub against this very old racing surface. Pace car on pit road. Green flag is back in the air. Wow, Andre, they were really slow right there to get to the line, and Pendle able to chop down in front of the nose of the number 99, but here comes Phillips. Scotty's going to have a good run off turn number 2 as the number 12 of Richard smacks the wall, but what a run from the number 99.
I tell you, that was a bold move. Instead of lifting, he cranked that wheel to the left. He got to the bottom, and it got him the position, but if that had gone wrong, and it very easily could have, he might have found himself spinning into that inside wall, but he was able to keep it under control, got a position as a result. But remember, I don't think Chris behind him is going to be pushing that car all that hard. He may not be driving at maximum capacity. He said in his interview, conservation is going to be key. So, he might see this 99 going full send early on and say, all right, buddy, you do you. Go up there, lead some laps. Not like they're really worth anything. And, oh, boy, Thad Miller, 81 machine. Looks like he might have got a piece of the inside retaining barrier. Take a look at the 3-wide TV replay. See what happened to Thad here as he goes into the corner. He's sideways as he enters the corner, and then it's just a full 4-tire slide. And just barely catching that inside wall. Almost got it put up in time that he avoided any contact, but unfortunately going to get some nose damage there. We'll take a slightly different angle, see if we can get the moment of contact, see exactly how hard this was. I think it's just going to be not insignificant, but, not race-ending.
Yeah, he's still out there on the racetrack. Oh, no. Christopher Pendle, who won stage number 1, just lost control, slid onto pit road. So this run, striking hard for both Pendle and Thad Miller, probably more for the number 94. Let's see what happened here. Just gets on the gas a little bit too much. Back end comes out, tries to save it, and, well, good news there, Andre, is that didn't hit anything, but now has to go down pit road at pit speed quite a ways.
Yeah, I tell you, you could see the second that car hit the bump, the rear end kicked out, and that's what I was talking about. These guys had some separation. They're not pushing the cars as hard as they could, and yet we still just had 2 single car incidents in the span of a couple laps. That's why keeping a set of tires behind the wall should a caution come out is so important. But that just took a load off of the 99's mind. He no longer has a mirror full of Chris Pendle. He's got to race back to Adam Newton.
And this is the bad news for Pendle. I think Pendle actually got a pit lane violation coming down to his pit box. So Pendle has to come down now and serve a penalty. He's in his pit box. Expect him to be rolling here momentarily. Finally, rolling 45-second penalty. Stop and hold for Pendle. And that has dropped him 3 laps down. So from the lead to 3 laps down in 6 laps. That is absolutely killer for Pendle. Absolutely killer.
Yeah, that is disastrous because at this point there are cars ahead of him laps down. Jimbo Casterline first in line for Lucky Dog, then Garrett Gleason, and then after that, Pendle, assuming nobody else goes a lap down, he would still need 3 more cautions, so it is highly unlikely that he gets back to the lead lap by the end of this race. At this point, all he can do is hope that some other drivers have some misfortune, maybe find themselves on the other side of pit road, and he can maybe capitalize on any potential DNFs, but that's going to be about it, which is just awful to see. And you know, that was a very, oh boy, 51, TJ Elaine getting a little bit squirrely, almost shades of Carl Long. If he'd come back up into the wall, we'll take another look at it. But you saw in that replay with Chris Pendle, he could have spun it back out onto the track, and he probably would have got a caution, and it probably would have been better for him, but he spun down the track. You saw it fishtail. He spun down the track into pit lane, trying to keep everybody else safe. And in doing so, I mean, just sacrificed this entire race, it would seem. So, very honorable thing to do in the heat of the moment. I know maybe I would not be aiming for pit road in that situation, but the number 7 coming down pit road. Now, this is interesting because everybody should be good on fuel and tires. I don't know if this is some sort of penalty that he acquired. We don't see the jack stand going up. We don't see anything happening. So this is unusual for their playoff driver there, Garrett Gleason.
Yeah, I think from what I'm hearing out of the number 7 camp, Garrett Gleason is just coming to terms, just trying to figure out what all went wrong with the New York Giants' offensive line, and he's decided he's had too much hurt, too much agony. This race is reminding him of the New York Giants' offensive line, and he's decided to come down onto pit road and potentially call it a night. So Gleason will drop down the running order. That's a tough break for one of our playoff drivers trying to make it into the round of 4, the championship round at Homestead, Miami. Looks like his night will go no further. So, Andre, 3 of our playoff drivers, Christopher Pendle, Garrett Gleason, and the number 29 of McKee, all 3 of those drivers currently sit our last 3 running, 12th, 13th, and 14th. I mean, this is going to be a good opportunity for some of these other drivers in the playoffs to make some noise for themselves, you know, to get a leg up on Pendle, Gleason, and McKee.
Yeah, it's a great situation for Adam Newton, Tom Lester, all these guys that are in the playoffs. Our current race leader, Philip Scott, again, he is not in the playoffs. He only started a few races in the regular season, so did not really get enough starts. Definitely didn't miss the playoffs on speed, just on a lack of participation. So he's out here leading the race, but really he's just racing for nothing more than bragging rights. He's into the wall again, a lane a little bit further back, top of the frame. But I don't know. Adam Newton, he's not too far back, 0.6 of a second, and we know Adam Newton can be a pretty good long-run driver when he needs to be, so we'll see how that gap develops and how it changes as they go on. We did hear something interesting from our Stage 1 winner, Chris Pendle. He said 64 laps of fuel, and I can't think that any of these guys are going to want to go 64 laps on a set of tires. So the pit window really is pretty big, Peter. We could have some guys taking massive undercuts, or we could have some guys staying out really long.
Yeah, that is true. We definitely could, as there is Thad Miller about to go 1 lap down. Remember, he had a moment in turn number 3 and 4. Adam Dama in the chat asking, well, don't these guys have a fast repair? They do have a fast repair. I did just hear from Garrett Gleason that he actually refused to use that fast repair and has taken the number 7 to the garage with too much front end damage. I know Gleason's one of those people who does not believe in a fast repair. He plays a simulator for it to be a simulation. So Gleason believes his night is done, and so a tough break for him here tonight. But that answers your question, Dama. They do get 1 fast repair. At least I believe so. And that's actually kind of interesting because Brent McKee also could have used that fast repair, but I guess he decided against it in the number 29 machine. His night is done. Gleason's night is done. That leaves us with just 12 cars out there on the racetrack, but plenty of action out of that turn 2 wall. I'll tell you what, Andre, it's been kind of a tough one tonight for that turn 2 wall.
Yeah, it's definitely getting the old stress test. I'll tell you that much. I'm a little bit. Can we confirm that they even have a quick repair for this race, Peter? Because I'm starting to wonder if they don't. I can't imagine why McKee and Gleason would not take that fast repair and try to salvage something here in the playoffs. It's a bit baffling to me. This isn't really a hang your hat up, throw your hands in the air, and say, I tried type race. This is a I need to go out here and salvage anything kind of race. So I'm wondering if maybe, we had the qualifying being a little bit different than usual. Maybe we didn't get a fast repair.
I'm looking at the session information right now. 1 fast repair tonight. So definitely they did at least have 1. Not sure if...
Now, is that on the iRacing League information, or is that just on the announcement?
That is on the actual iRacing race information. So
that's really interesting. That is strange to me. That is not the mentality.
Yeah, I know Gleason. I know Gleason's, like I said, kind of against the fast repair. He's been a little vocal about it, so he doesn't use them. But it's interesting to see that both McKee and Gleason did not use the fast repair. So who knows? But that definitely, like we've been saying, gives some of the other playoff drivers a leg up, like Adam Newton, Tom Lester, Mike Floppy Tellier, TJ Aline, also in that mix of playoff drivers there on the left-hand side of your screen. I think Thad Miller also in the number 81 that just recently went a lap down. He's in the 5th place of our playoff drivers. Then Christopher Pendle in 12th. He's the 6th of our playoff drivers. And then Gleason and McKee, like we've been mentioning. But Andre, in all this madness, we have closed in now on the halfway mark. Just over 10 laps away. About 11 laps from right now. See the cross flags here as they flash down Thunder Alley. Just looks like some side-by-side battling here. TJ Elaine and Steven Lashinsky duking it out for position. They're having to deal with the lapped car of Thad Miller right in front of them.
Yeah, they're going to have to try to navigate him. I think he's going to give him the bottom. It seems like a lot of these guys prefer the top, so when the lap cars come around, they tend to stay glued to that yellow line. Looks like the 51 with just a little bit of an issue getting into the wall, but he's able to keep the momentum up. But yeah, this race is really going by pretty quick, almost to the halfway point, like you said. No cautions for cause. We have had multiple incidents, as you can see by the scoring pylon, but none of them have been significant enough for Barney to make the effort to reach on over into the flag stand, grab that yellow flag, and wave it. So that's interesting to see. And to clarify, if you're listening, Jimbo, I was not doubting you with the fast repairs. I do know that iRacing, sometimes you make a session. And if the session sits there for a while, some of the settings just get messed up. I've had that happen in other leagues that I commentate. And fast repairs particularly seem to be really buggy with activating and deactivating. So I am not doubting the boss. Please don't fire me. I'm doubting iRacing. So anyways, 51 machine getting big squirrely there in the corner, Peter, and that is the trouble spot. Every incident we've had just about has been through turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4, not so bad, unless your name is Chris Pendle. Then 3 and 4 is maybe not your friend, but yeah, these guys just struggling to find a line that works.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a couple of the drivers like Elaine struggle at times here tonight, but at least for right now, keeping the number 51 nice and clean. In front of them, quite a ways, was my Floppy Tellier and Andre. Just wondering if Tellier is approaching this run a little bit differently than the last run, because he was down in 8th position by the time the caution flag flew on lap number 35. We've doubled that length now, working lap number 70. So under this run, of course, we've only been to green flag for about 30. He's a couple of positions higher up the board than he was, maybe somewhat through attrition in front of him, but nonetheless, things looking a little bit better under this run for Mike in the Hello Kitty machine, but still plenty of ground to catch up to the back of the number 48 of Tom Lester in front of him, last week's race winner from the Chicagoland Speedway, who's about a half straightaway or so behind the number 12 of Robert Richards, who's solidly putting together a clean run tonight. In fact, trying to run down the number 4 in front of him of Adam Newton. Let's see if we can bring up the kind of lap time history between Newton and Richard. Just kind of staying stable, but not letting him get away, as that is kind of been bouncing back and forth around a half second now for the last 10 laps. So we'll keep our eyes to see if maybe Robert Richards can start to make some inroads as the laps continue to click off. But for right now, Philip Scott's got himself about a 1.3 second lead out front here at the Rockingham Speedway, now just 3 laps away from crossed flags.
Yeah, victory lane has eluded Philip Scott in the strangest of ways this year. From a literal tornado, ruining what should have been a surefire win, to a crucial late race mistake, taking away what should have been another surefire win. It's been a tough road in this season for the 99. Maybe this is finally going to be the race where he turns that around. He seems to be one of the quickest. I mean, we're getting up there on the tires now. Again, we went back green on quite a while ago. I don't know the exact number count, but it's been a while, rest assured. And these tires are probably starting to get a little bit cooked, and we're kind of into what I would consider a long run. And Philip Scott, still one of the fastest cars on the track, if not the fastest, pulling away from Adam Newton, pulling away from Richards. He's just got to not get in his own head, not have anything crazy happen, just click off the laps, be consistent, do what you got to do. There's Steven Lashinsky. Now, this is a group of cars that may start to come together. You see he gained a lot on the 51 of Elaine through that corner. We'll see if he gains any more through 3 and 4 up on that outside wall that Pendle mentioned was really the ideal line. The 51's able to play a little bit of defense, but the number 9 has been pretty consistent tonight. I don't see too much damage on the right side of that car. One of the few drivers that can claim that, and he's so good through 1 and 2. He closes in so much. And then 3 and 4, I think the 51 just has a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just a little bit on an advantage through there with the different lines that they're running. But again, this battle hovering at about a half second. So just like this one, although here comes Richards. Richards has closed in while we were looking away at the battle back there for 6th. The battle for 2nd is heating up. Just how long do you wait, Andre, before you kind of start to make that move? We did go green on lap number 40 to answer your question, so almost 40 laps in the book. Of course, with going green on lap number 40, that's with 110 laps to go. If you split the race in half from lap 40, that would be lap number 95. So I wonder if some of these drivers will come down pit road around lap number 95. That's always what I like to do as a driver, kind of split your run in half. And thinking about it, we know, at least from talking earlier with Christopher Pendle, that you can make it 68 or so laps, I think is what he said. So if you can make it to lap number 95, you definitely can. I think that's when we're going to see some of these drivers start to make their way onto pit lane. Yeah,
that would be my preferred strategy as well. It's just simple. When you're in the cockpit and you're focusing on making laps, and maybe you don't have an actual crew chief chirping in your ear trying to come up with strategies, it's just simple for the driver to say, okay, quick math here, halfway point would be this lap, that's when I'm going to pit. That way I know I'm getting kind of the best out of, both sets of tires, kind of wearing them equally. And it's an easy strategy to pull. But if you're brave, maybe you take a massive undercut. Maybe you take what could have been a one-stop race and turn it into 2, but you hope those fresh tires are going to be fast enough to make up for the time you spend on pit road. I don't think Rockingham is a racetrack where you can make that time back up, but I've seen crazier things, so we'll see what these guys do.
And while the battle for 2nd cools off just a little bit, we'll go back to Steven Lashinsky and TJ Lane. That battle has cooled off, as well as the 51 has pulled out almost a 2nd. Not quite, but the 51 is trying to run down Tom Lester. But that is a pretty big uphill battle, as TJ Lane might have just scraped the wall there through turn number 1 and 2. That would not be all too great, but we do have some takers on pit road. Mike Tellier, Jason Shue coming down. William Ratcliffe as well on pit road. So maybe a bit earlier than I was expecting, Andre, but the window we think is now open to where you can make it the rest of the race on this final stop.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We'll see if these guys come back down again, or what the strategy here is. I know Philip Scott staying out on track, 1.4 seconds over Adam Newton. Richards not too far behind Newton there, 1.7 seconds. Coming through the corner, though, big advantage. The question is just going to be, when is he going to pit? Current lucky dog is going to Thad Miller. Remember, he was down on that inside wall, didn't get a caution, but somehow only managed to lose one lap. He's made a solid recovery, running ahead of Mike Tellier, at least for the moment. Nope, as I say that, Mike Tellier taking the provisional lucky dog. So bit of a battle going on for who's going to get the free pass. Then you got a couple drivers 2 laps down, Shu and Casterline. Then you got Pendle and Ratcliffe 3 laps down a piece there as well. So Ratcliffe having come down pit road, obviously that's going to equalize that. He won't be 3 laps down. But this race definitely been a little bit unexpected. You know, we go into Chicagoland, Peter, we're thinking, okay, this race is going to be green flag, start to finish, more than likely. And we get a bunch of cautions, a bunch of chaos. We come to Rockingham, we're thinking, oh, this race is going to be crazy, going to be a lot of yellows, and we're almost to the end of this thing. It's been clean and green the whole way. I could not have predicted this.
Yeah, the only real incidents that we've had have not brought out the cautions, like Pendle coming down or sliding down pit road, and McKee and Gleason getting into each other off of turn number 2. That didn't bring out a caution. It's been kind of a little bit of a head scratcher in that regard, because I completely agree with you. As I was expecting this one to have multiple cautions, although maybe we'll still see some, as Robert Richards has a wiggle there down the backstretch, down Thunder Alley. You see Christopher Pendle back behind him, still trying to make his way up the running order, trying to get one of his laps back the hard way. He's done a great job, really, Andre, of closing in on these drivers in front of him. If he can get to 2 laps down and maybe get a opportune caution flag, maybe it's not over. And actually, Pendle just passed Jimbo Casterline to pick up another spot. So Pendle out there still clicking off laps, still trying to make up points, trying to salvage as much as he can. Of course, he did win the stage number 1. That will help. That will help minimize the damage with that mistake off of turn number 4. But still a lot of work left to do for the number 94 here tonight if he wants to get back onto the lead lap before the checkered flag does eventually fall. Right now, Philip Scott holding on to a 2-second lead now. He's been able to leg it out just a little bit over Adam Newton. Richards in 3rd, and then a long gap back to Lester, Elaine, and Lashinsky still duking it out. In fact, let's go check on that battle, because those 2 drivers are still pretty close to one another as we now work lap number 90.
Yeah, these guys really not getting away from each other. They've managed to stay within relative close distance there. You see there's the 47 trying to work his way around the 95 between these 2 cars. And I find it interesting, the 47, Mike Tellier, every time we've seen him make a move, it's been down on the bottom. He prefers to do his work down low, and he's one of the very few. It seems like the high line has been preferred for a lot of these guys, but Mike just making passes down low, doing what he needs to do. He should cycle out on the lead lap once it's all said and done. See Thad Miller coming down pit road. Jason Shu passing up Thad Miller there as well. So interesting developments here. As you see, there's the number 3 of Shu getting a little loose. And I'll tell you what, that 51 is scaring me, Peter. He's doing that every corner. Just getting loose out of the corner, darting down a couple lanes, and then somehow collecting it. Not going all the way around, but every time I see him do that, I think he is.
Yeah, that number 51 has been just on edge since the drop of the green flag. It just seems like of all the drivers out there that have contacted the wall the most, that have looked like they were going to wreck the most, it's been this number 51. But he's still holding on. He's still holding on to that spot over Lashinsky in the number 9. So Lashinsky back in the back of the picture here in the Monster Jam Chevy Camaro, still trying to get back up into the top 5, but unsuccessful so far. Biggest move of the race so far is in and amongst these drivers. That is the number 3 of Jason Shu. He's gained 4 spots, but is finding himself right now 2 laps down in the GM Goodwrench Service Plus machine. Of course, this was the racetrack where Kevin Harvick made his NASCAR Winston Cup Series debut the week after Dale Earnhardt's passing at Daytona, and he ran a white and black scheme. He ran the white and black scheme the following week as well at Las Vegas before moving over to this scheme at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, where of course he won on his third ever NASCAR Winston Cup Series start. I always thought that one was pretty wild. His third race in the number 3 machine, or what was once the number 3 machine. I always thought that was pretty fitting, all things considered. But Jason out there in that kind of Kevin Harvick throwback scheme from his rookie season. Philip Scott up to a 2.5 second lead now, as looks like TJ Allain is on pit road right now. And overshot that pit box, had to throw it in reverse as that crew will go to work and still not able to find his pit box. Uses the fast repair as well. That took him a lot of time to finally get into that pit stall.
Yeah, that is the mistake that Lashinsky was looking for. If he couldn't get him on track, maybe he can now get him on pit road if he gets a cleaner stop. Although with Lashinsky yet to come down pit road, perhaps the number 51 will be able to overcome the time he just lost with the fresh tires. If Lashinsky stays out too long, he may be able to make up for that and get some fast laps right out the gate with those tires. But these guys are really stretching it. We were talking about lap 95 for splitting the remainder of the race in half from the stage. Here we are on lap 99. Philip Scott still on track. Adam Newton, Richards, Lashinsky, these guys holding out. Everybody else has come down pit road. Tellier, Lester, Allain, Shue, Pendle, Ratcliffe, these guys all coming down pit road and getting those cars serviced, clicking off some fast laps now compared to our leaders. But these guys, they're dedicated to it. They are sticking firm to this strategy.
Yeah, a bit surprising, in my opinion. I just wasn't quite expecting them to go quite this far, but maybe trying to save that set of tires for as long as they absolutely can to make a mad dash to the finish. Another thing that I was thinking, Andre, was maybe Philip Scott knows that Christopher Pendle is back there and that Pendle will likely stay out to try and make up some of those laps, at least temporarily. So maybe this is Philip Scott trying to cover Pendle to try and keep him multiple laps down just in case a caution flag were to come out. Never know, but here comes Philip Scott peeling off of the racetrack about 60 laps into the run. He gets down to pit road speed. Good job by the World Ninja League machine. We'll see whether or not he has any issues coming to his box. That will temporarily hand over the lead here in the Bald Head Island Vacations.com 150 to Adam Newton. Robert Richards in second for right now, then Lashinsky, who's still circling on the racetrack as Scott goes into his pit box nice and neatly, and his crew will go to work on the right-hand side. Now, when will we see Newton on pit road? Robert Richards is coming down pit road in the number 12. There he is. And looks like Lashinsky also coming down pit road. There you go. So that leaves, I think, really Adam Newton as the only... as I say that, that's everyone. Everyone on pit road here around lap number 102 to 103.
So that was quite a ways to go on a tank of gas, but everybody finally folding. Newton, the final driver to make that call. Mike Tellier is in the provisional lead, although he pitted quite some time ago, and I believe that Philip Scott is going to have much fresher tires, so we will see exactly what happens. There actually has Tellier pitted. He's going to take the lead. I think he may actually have stayed out, judging on the timing and scoring.
You are correct, Andre. He pitted on lap number 80, so he pitted about 24 laps ago. Yeah, so he, I think, pitted as soon as the window opened to where he felt like he could make it to the end of the race. So slightly different strategy for the number 47 as here comes Christopher Pendle on to pit road. He was hoping to see a caution flag come out. No caution flag did wave, so tough break for him. But this is Tellier, who will be the lead of the race. He is 11 seconds up the road from Philip Scott, who has extended his lead over Tom Lester. or over Robert Richards and Adam Newton. Both of those drivers stayed out a little bit longer, a lap or two longer, but that has allowed Phillip to get about 7 seconds on Newton and about 9 seconds on Robert Richards. It really looks like it is Scott's race to lose at this point, but a timely caution flag for Tellier could change the whole ball game. And only time will tell as he completes lap number 106. Just 44 more miles left here in tonight's event. Let's see if we can go on board with Mike Floppy Tellier. And, well, why don't we actually crank it up on board with the number 47 machine here? All right, well, while we were away, not a whole lot has happened out there on the racetrack. Adam Newton is running down Tom Lester. Newton pitted 6 laps after Lester, so definitely fresher tires on the number 4 machine at this point in the race. Phillip Scott has brought the lead down to about 6 seconds, so Andre Scott already cutting up about half of that big lead that Tellier had in half. Cutting it down. I can't remember what I just said. It's not one of those days, folks, but Phillip Scott is really closing in on Tellier. You would think here, Andre, that Mike's going to need probably a caution in the next 5 laps if he wants to kind of hold on to the lead.
Yeah, he's going to have to really pay attention to these coming laps and make sure he gets it down pat. But in the meantime, still 4.6 seconds between Tellier and Scott, and that gap just closing rapidly. Adam Newton closing in on Tom Lester a little bit each and every lap. You can see timing and scoring showing he is now under a second back from Lester, so that'll get him back up on the podium. And again, it's been a little while since we've seen Adam Newton win a race. He was so dominant at the beginning of the year, and then started to cool off just a little bit. Still getting good finishes, getting podiums and getting top 5s, just hasn't visited victory lane as frequently as he was. So you can see exactly where that goes in down pit road. No, not down pit road. Tom Lester comes in a little bit too late. Well, that is going to cost him a position, some time, and that is not a good situation. We'll take a look at the 3-wide TV replay.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. That was almost like shades of what we saw earlier in the race. Did I not go back far enough? Let's see if I can go back a little bit further, because I don't think I went back far enough. Yeah, I did not. Yeah, let's see what happened here. This is shades of what we saw with Pendle. Just got loose up off the corner, but was able to corral it. Don't think he was trying to head down pit road there, Andre. It was just a big moment for that number 48.
Yeah, big slide, got him a little bit loose, but fortunate that he did not go down pit road, have to serve any sort of penalty. See, he's got the counter steer into it about halfway through the corner, and not much runoff to use, but he used every inch of it, and that was a great recovery out of Tom Lester.
Yeah, that number 48 machine showing he's a wheel man. Showed that last week at Chicagoland. Was able to run down Christopher Pendle late in that one, if you did not see that. But Adam Dama saying, love to see more crank-it-ups through the race. Yeah, that's something that we haven't done a whole lot of this year. We'll try and do that over the next couple of races, as Mike Tellier, with a pit stop, has ended up one lap down in 7th. He's trying a different strategy here, Andre. I don't blame him. He's kind of run this race in 5th to 6th position, that kind of range. He now has the freshest tires on the field. Just kind of looking, is 18.4 seconds behind Steven Lashinsky. That's a awful long ways to catch up to the 6th place driver.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big gap, and I don't think that he's going to be able to pull that off without a little bit of help, either from a caution or something else happening. But it's going to be 30 to go when they cross the stripe next time, and not a whole lot of racing left. Everybody should theoretically be good. If I'm doing my math correctly here, I'm looking up and down the pylon. I believe everybody should be able to make it to the end, so we're not looking at any more stops. It's just a flat-out race to the end. Philip Scott with a monster lead, 3.3 seconds from Scott to Newton. Although, Newton, I guess that's a quirk of the timing and scoring. It went from 0.3 down to 1/10 and back up to 3.3, so that might have just been the way that it calculates it through the corner. Either way, 3-second advantage for Scott, not much racing left. In a good position. Richards in the number 12, 2 seconds back from Newton. Lots of separation up front, and a lot of that, of course, a product of some of this attrition that we've had. I mean, we've had some heavy hitters kind of taken out of this race, either through incidents or through faulty strategy. You can see Mike Tellier a lap down. He was fast. Chris Pendle still 3 laps down, never recovered from his incident. So, Brent McKee, he was up inside the top 10. His incident took him out of the race. So not as much competition towards the front as there was to begin this race. These guys definitely taking advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely taking advantage of it. That is for sure. Let's talk about the playoff situation just a little bit here as we're closing in on just 25 laps to go. This race going by in a hurry. Adam Newton is currently the top placed playoff driver in 2nd. Then Tom Lester sitting in 4th. TJ Elaine in 5th is our 3rd highest placed playoff driver. Then Mike Floppy Tellier in 7th. And then Thad Miller, Christopher Pendle back behind him. And then at the bottom, you have Gleason and McKee. Both of those drivers out of tonight's mix. So it could be a good points night for Adam Newton. Of course, we did reset everyone's points to the same value. So a win earlier in the season, Andre, didn't mean anything. It just meant that you were in the playoffs, but it doesn't mean anything from this point forward. It is all about your consistency over these 3 races, going out there, getting a strong finish, trying to get the win, and punching your ticket into Homestead, Miami in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, not much time to the final race, so every race is going to matter. Every race is going to count, and Richards starting out strong in that number 12. If he can finish off this race with a podium, that is going to be great momentum going forward. You just got to keep it up for a few more weeks and here in this race just for 25 more laps. So great race out of Richards, up a little bit up the road from him. Adam Newton, 3.2 seconds now. So he's gaining maybe a little bit. I mean a little bit. Definitely not enough to the point where he is a threat to catch Philip Scott at his current pace. So maybe looking at a 2nd place finish if things end where they run. Lester, after his little bit of a misstep in the corner, lost the podium position, but did not lose the top 5, still running 4th, and a lane quite a ways behind him. It's going to be 7 more seconds back to that 51, who, big props to TJ. We've seen him get loose. We've seen him hit the wall. He has been fighting that car all night long, but despite that, he's still up inside the top 5. He's one of the few that have managed to make it this far. So that's always a frustrating thing when the car is fighting you at every turn. It's very easy to start to overdrive, make some mistakes. But, here he is, still in the top 5, having a good race.
Yeah, now he kind of gets to race himself for the final 22 laps, which might not sound like the most fun thing, but when you're starting off the playoffs with a solid run inside the top 5, I don't think he'll be all too bummed about that, as he's got about 4.5 seconds on Steven Lashinsky behind him. Lashinsky did pit on lap 102, Elaine on lap number 95, so definitely fresher tires on Lashinsky's car, but he's still got a pretty big gap. Although that can come down in a hurry if you start to make mistakes, as Elaine has another big slide into turn number 1. We've seen that on multiple occasions here tonight. Now he clips the wall down the backstretch as the Stay Tuned Sports Chevy Camaro may be looking like he's getting some pressure from the other Stay Tuned Sports machine. That is Jimbo Casterline there on the inside, 8 laps down. Not sure exactly what happened to Jimbo. I think he had a long pit stop for one reason or another that put him 8 laps down, so definitely not the night he was hoping for. Will Ratcliffe, he's multiple laps down in the number 95. Just been a tough race for him. Jason Shue in the number 3 laps down. Christopher Pendle in 9th. He has been able to pick up that spot from Jason Shue, so he is going to try and run down through. Ooh, the 51's in the wall again. Scraping off the right-hand side paint, and he's in the wall again off of turn number 2. Luckily, not bouncing down in front of Jimbo Casterline there. That could have been a big moment for Elaine. Maybe just got to start thinking about backing this one up just a little bit and avoid those walls, TJ.
Yeah, he doesn't have much pressure from behind. Still got a good gap to Lashinsky, so, not really much to worry about. Just back up the corner entry a little bit, and oh boy, Jimbo a little bit hot on corner exit. Had to give it a bit of a panic lift. That got the weight to shift to the front of the car, which got him loose. And that kind of conceded that track position, although it is not for actual race position. Jimbo currently 8 laps down. TJ Elaine on the lead lap. Just, racing maybe for the fun of it at this point. A lot of separation, just trying to, salvage what you can, have some fun, do some racing here. But it is tough to make that move on the bottom, and you saw that Jimbo found that out right there, but it's been the same story for everybody. It is difficult down there on that low side, but despite all the issues that 51 has had on the high line, he's sticking dedicated to it. I mean, he was rim riding there. Oh boy.
Yeah, there he goes again. I think we just keep the camera on TJ Elaine right here. It's the most exciting thing out there on the racetrack right now, because there's no real battle for position currently. Got 3 or 4 seconds between most drivers. Lashinsky is still closing in on TJ. If Elaine continues to make those mistakes getting into the wall, we might have a battle for the 5th position here brewing. There is Lashinsky, top right-hand corner of your screen now in the same picture, but 14 laps to go. Lap counts continues to click off here in a hurry with these lap times and on the order of about 25.5 seconds. Big shout out to baldheadislandvacations.com. There's a link in the description of the video. If you have not already checked them out, make sure you do so. Gotta say, it looks like a really nice place to go on vacation, if especially if you're on the East Coast, not all too far away. So go check them out. You can look at their vacation rentals. They have ocean views, ocean front, maritime type events that you can do. Go out, hopping on a boat, go out fishing, do all different types of things. They have golf course type things that you can do if you're a golfer, and you get the map, and they have breweries and everything. It's really, really cool. Everything that you could ever want is all on the baldheadislandvacations.com website. If you want to go maybe surfing, they have a link to someone you could go surfing with. I mean, it's really, really cool, all that they have there in Bald Head Island, North Carolina. I said it was South Carolina earlier, and then I also said, I get the Carolinas mixed up, but it's North Carolina. baldheadislandvacations.com. Make sure to check out the link and They even have a link for the weather. It is currently 73.3 degrees Fahrenheit and raining in Bald Head Island, North Carolina, in case you were interested. It was about that last night here in Texas. Lots of storm rolling through, and I think there's storms rolling through where you are, Andre. So, you know what they say, I love a rainy night.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't knock out the internet, I'll love it. So we'll have to wait and see. But it is now under 10 to go as Philip Scott is going to take the stripe even more of an advantage now. Last time we checked in, 3.6 seconds over Richards and Newton. So big advantage there. Coming up on a lap car of Leshinsky. That would put Leshinsky in the provisional lucky dog position should a caution come out. He would take it from Tellier if he were to go a lap down, but not sure he's going to get to him in time. Leshinsky's been pretty quick tonight. And I doubt even further that we're going to get a yellow. So really things just kind of playing out very naturally here, very organically. We're seeing the end result of a long and difficult race for these guys. See, nearly half, actually over half the pylon is going to be a lap down or more. So Philip Scott really loving the way this car is handling. As he's actually going to get around Leshinsky. And that is going to put only 5 cars on the lead lap. TJ Elaine not far up the road, just a few tenths for Philip Scott. He may lap up to 5th, which would be quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, but that also just points to the fact that we've only had one caution flag here tonight. That one caution flag came out on lap number 35. It was our one and only stage caution, and that stage, of course, won by Christopher Pendle tonight. So, just been lots of green flag. We didn't expect to see that here tonight, but we did hear, at least surprising to me from Pendle earlier in the night, that the race car was getting tight as the run went on. It didn't get loose. Typically at this racetrack that I've experienced, the car starts to get looser and looser and looser, but here tonight it's getting tighter. It must just be the track conditions that we have here at the Rockingham Speedway, but 5 laps to go. And Leshinsky still unable to run down a lane. There you see the number 99 Philip Scott right in front of him, and then in front of Scott is Elaine. But with only 5 laps to go, I just don't see Leshinsky able to close that gap. Meanwhile, we do have a battle for position. This is the battle for the 9th spot between Christopher Pendle and Jason Shue. They're duking it out for position. I was going to say, I'd be a bit surprised if Shue was able to make the move, but just looking at it, Shue has much fresher tires. 20 lap or so fresher tires. He is starting to claw away at this gap. We'll see whether Pendle can hold on or whether Jason Shue can pick up the 9th position. Pendle had such a strong start to the night that went wrong in a hurry there around lap number 42 or 45, somewhere in that range when he spun onto pit road. Trying to hold out for every point he can here as he's one of the playoff drivers. Jason Shue just missing the playoffs in the number 3. So every point matters, Andre, especially if you want to make it to Homestead in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, and this is why it was so important for Pendle to stay on the track, though, because even if Shue gets around him, Pendle still got around Ratcliffe, Gasterline, Gleason, McKee, all these drivers who had issues. He's salvaging some points, even though he's not finishing the race where we kind of expected him to. And that may be a prime example of the 3-wide TV ray gun, by the way, because we just talked to him. We had just wished him luck, and then a lap and a half later, he was 3 laps down. So apologies to Chris Pendle from 3-wide TV. But either way, salvaging some points, and it looks like Jason Shue may have a chance here to get around the number 9 himself. With the white flag in the air coming out of turn 4. And it is going to be Philip Scott finally visiting victory lane. It could have happened a couple times this season, but it does happen here at Rockingham for the Bald Head Island Vacations 150. 99 back in victory lane.
Yeah, going back to that race at Monza earlier this season where Philip Scott had a tornado warning and had to run to the basement just 2 laps away from the checkered flag. Philip Scott making up for that here tonight at Rockingham Speedway. I think Mike Tellier is going to help him celebrate, or at least give him a congratulatory wave as Phillip lights him up here on the front stretch. Interestingly to note, Tellier's strategy of pitting an extra time did not pan out as he finishes in the 7th spot. But smoke aplenty for Phillip Scott, as luckily here he gets to park it in victory lane on the front stretch.
And almost in victory lane. There we go. Into the checkered victory lane right next to the Rockwell sign. See if he can maybe get a bit of a burnout in here. This will make for a good screenshot for him if he can get some smoke. Oh, no, not quite. Trying to start the smoke show, and he's out of the car. That may have been a getting parked situation for going backwards. I don't know. But either way, he tried. It doesn't really matter about the smoke show because he's got the checkered flag, and that is what counts.
Yeah, very strong run as well. Started this race on the pole after picking up the Harpoon Designs Pole Award in an open qualifying session. But let's see if we can talk to tonight's 3rd place finisher, driver of the number 12 machine, Robert Richards. Robert, Peter Short, 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, it was a pretty good run for the number 12 machine. You kept it clean, I think, all night long, just a little bit behind Adam Newton on pace, but you kept him on his toes all night. Tell us about how the number 12 machine was racing here tonight.
Yeah, it was good. I was able to keep up with Adam there. There was no hope. There was no hope keeping up with Phillip, but Adam, I could keep up with him until at the end of the cycle. Then I was just falling off. I got in the wall a couple times, but nothing that done any damage. Try to pit. I knew Phillip had a hell of a run, lead, whatever you want to call it. But I thought I could overlap Adam if I got in there before him, but I didn't. And I was just, they were just, Phillip was a whole lot better, and Adam was a little bit better, and I just didn't have enough to get around Adam to get the 2nd spot. And but it's a podium finish, so it'll work. It's a lot of fun racing. I've never run the Xfinity here at Rockingham, but it was a lot of fun. And caution-free race, other than the stage break, man, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is something you don't often see here at the Rockingham Speedway. We did hear early in the night from Christopher Pendle that the car was getting a little bit tight on the long run. That's also a little bit unusual here for Rockingham. Was that the case for you?
I think it all depend on where you ran at. I let off probably, about just a little bit past the finish line. I would let off and run the bottom, and kind of make an arc in there and get a run off. But if you hit that line wrong going into one, yes, it would get tight and push to the wall. But this track is just patience because it's bumpy. So one wrong move, it's going to shoot to the wall, and it did get a little tight per se, I guess, but nothing that I didn't feel like that couldn't be controlled. Just letting off the gas a little bit than what you would normally do would solve that. But my problem was just coming off of 4 where or coming off of 1 and 2 where it would kind of dip down coming out exit. It would just kick out, and I wasn't sure why, and it screwed me a couple times. I hit the wall. I ended up having wheel damage. It said wheel damage, but it didn't drive no different. But obviously, with the one fast pair we got, that took care of that when I went into the pits, and I just stay away from the bottom after that.
Well, it all worked out for you in the end here at the Rockingham Speedway. Before we let you go, Robert, any shout-outs you'd like to give out here on 3Y TV?
Oh, yeah, you guys here at 3Y. I'm not sure, if you guys race when you're not broadcasting, but thank you for putting the broadcast on and everybody here who puts on the league. I don't have any sponsors, so I don't have anybody to thank there. Adam and Tom keep me chill out, I guess, during the race in Discord, so they're there.
Well, always good to have friends racing alongside
Yes,
each and
sir.
every week. And of course, we'll go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway next week. Robert, hopefully you can back up tonight's strong run with another run that is good there. We'll talk to you later, bud.
Thank you.
All right. And that is it for tonight's third place finisher. Let's see if we can go down to tonight's runner-up driver of the number 4 machine. It is none other than Adam Newton. Andre.
Mr. Newton, you got a copy?
Yes, do.
Well, Adam, it was a tough race for a lot of drivers. We saw the safer barrier get a few stress tests, more than a few. Saw some single car spins, but you kept it clean. That 4 car really didn't have any issues. You kept it off the wall, kept yourself from spinning out, and you got a podium to show for it. Great start to the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a fantastic start. I wish I could have been in Philip's spot, but we were just talking. I'm trying to figure out his line, and that line he was running was just the cat's meow in 1 and 2, but we were pretty even in 3 and 4. But all in all, it was a good race.
Yeah, it was, and obviously being the highest finishing playoff driver, you get a bit of an advantage going into the next race. And just tell me a little bit about what it was like to race here at Rockingham. This is, I think, easily the roughest racing surface in terms of bumps and elevation that we've had all season long. What did it take to get that number 4 to the checkered flag?
Well, patience, because before the race, I noticed what the track state was before race time, and it was at 58%. So the car was a straight up handful. You really had to let it roll a lot to not get loose on braking entry and exit. Getting on the gas, but the bumps wasn't my concern. It was just the rolling the car and good tire wear.
Yeah, tire wear, very crucial. We heard that when we talked to Chris Pendle earlier in the race. He kind of echoed the same sentiment there. So you guys did a phenomenal job of that. But before we let you go, Adam, if you got any shout outs to make, now's the time.
Yeah, I appreciate Tom, Robbie. They stayed in the room with us, and Pam Pittman for being one of my sponsors, and you and Peter for doing the broadcast, and thank Jimbo for keeping it going. Hopefully we can have another good race next week.
Yes, sir. I agree. All right. Well, we're going to let you go celebrate that podium. We'll be catching you next week.
Thank you, man. Y'all have a good one.
You too. All right. That is going to be second place out of the booth, and Peter's short. Hopefully you've been able to make that jog down to the trialable victory lane in time. He's caught up with Philip Scott.
Yeah, driver of the number 99 machine, the World Ninja League machine, doing backflips and climbing up walls and running up walls and jumping from bollard to bollard. That's what ninjas do, I believe. At least that's what I've seen on the TV. And Philip Scott, we've seen him on TV before. But Philip, a picture-perfect night for you. Started on the Harpoon Design pole and then backed it up with a win. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun racing with these guys. It's always fun racing with these guys. I'm glad I think I figured out my connection. I started pausing Microsoft OneDrive and it hasn't lost connection since. Or maybe it was an iRacing thing that had to be patched. I don't know. But either way, so I really like Rockingham. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I was kind of surprised I got pole. I got it just at the end, and then I accidentally punted TJ when he was going for his last out lap because it was group qualifying, and I forgot that it was group qualifying. So oops. But yeah, 94 took off pretty early, and I just kind of let him go. And then Mike was looking fast at the beginning, so I let him go too. I was thinking to myself, play the Mark Martin game here. That's how you win here. And so then all of a sudden, I was just kind of running my line and stuff, and then by the end of the stage, I caught right back up to 94. Then sucks that he got loose. He had that little hiccup. Got tight in on the restart, and then that let me go around the outside. But yeah, then he slid into pit road, which was a bummer because it was fun racing with him. But yeah, then it was about after that. It was like about managing the gap, trying to figure out how to save my tires the best I could while still being fast. Adam and Robbie were telling me about they couldn't figure out how I was saving tires with my line, and I think it had to do with road. I was like braking in this really weird road racing trail braking way and like flicking the car and getting slip angle, and it was and like then riding the bumps up the track, which is like completely counterproductive in 3 and 4. And then in 1 and 2 they were also trying to figure out I was just using the banking to just go down the track instead of trying to apex it normally. So, and it worked. But yeah, it's a lot of fun because those guys are really fast, and Rockingham's a tough track, and I had the undercut on them, which meant that they had fresher tires at the end, so I was trying to baby them at the start. But yeah.
Well, you definitely had this place figured out here tonight. Managing the lead from the front is always a fun thing to do. It sounds like that was in the back of your mind all night long. Next week, we go to the Indy Oval, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Another interesting track with its unique shape. And what are your thoughts about Indy?
I haven't done Indy Oval in a stock car on iRacing in forever. I think it had to have been last time was season 2020B of TNR in the old ARCA cars. I think was the last time I ran Indy Oval, because I mean we ran Indy Road and stuff a lot, but yeah, Indy Oval, that should be fun. I'm gonna practice. I'm looking forward to that. And obviously we know that it's coming back in real life next year, so yeah, good practice.
Yeah, definitely one of the tracks that I enjoy racing with the stock car. That is for sure. But Philip, before I let you go here tonight, any shout outs you'd like to give out?
Yep, of course. Shout outs to World Ninja League. Check us out, worldninjaleague.org. We got lots of competitions, tons of them, and lots of them for you to watch. I got our Premier Series finals in Brooklyn next month, so be sure to check that out.
All right. Well, Philip, congratulations on your win here tonight, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's post-race interviews here for the Bald Head Island Vacations.com 150. Philip Scott coming home as tonight's race winner. Let's see if we can bring up the final race results. However, for everyone back at home, Andre, why don't you take it away as soon as they pop up?
And it is Philip Scott taking his first win on the year. 3 seconds advantage over second place Adam Newton. Robert Richards taking third with a great start to the playoffs. Tom Lester going to bring it home fourth. Had a scary moment, but keeps it up inside the top 5. TJ Elaine, well, I think he was definitely the tester for the safer barrier, the driver trying to make sure that that barrier was doing its job, but nonetheless brings it home in fifth. Steven Lashinsky in that 9 car is going to be P6. Seventh place goes to Mike Tellier in the 47. The Canadian going to finish inside the top 10. Thad Miller had an incident mid-race and came back to finish mid-pack in that 81. Chris Pendle is going to be a P9 in the 94, and rounding out the top 10 is Jason Shu. Rest of the drivers, we're not going to forget them. William Ratcliffe, Jimbo Casterline, Garrett Gleason, and Brent McKee going to be the remainder of the drivers.
And a little bit of a smaller field here tonight, but another great race here in the Stay Tuned Sports Xfinity Series. Only 3 races left. Of course, like I had been mentioning, next week, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Then I think the week after that is the good old racetrack of Kansas, and then Homestead Miami Speedway to round out the season. So, going to be a lot of fun for the next few races on the 2.5 mile Indy next week, and then the 1.5 mile track of Kansas and Homestead, Miami to round out the season. Andre, a lot to look forward to, but a great race here tonight for sure.
Yep, definitely looking forward to seeing how this season rounds out, getting pretty close to that championship race. And tonight's race in and of itself was, it was a basket of surprises. A lot of things happening that I could not have predicted, and seems to be the running theme here in the league. So fun to watch, and looking forward to some more.
Absolutely. Well, for myself, Peter Short, Andre Grambush, and everyone else here in the 3Y TV family, folks, stay safe and all that good stuff, and we shall see ya.